From Jonathan, Lord Klavan, enforcer of order and sustainer of universes. I have been on my shoulders. I have been interested in writing for a long time, and while I am really good at creating in-depth universes, I have problems building plot depth and creating interesting characters. What are the steps that you take in writing a fictional story, and how do you develop characters? Any advice would be appreciated. Thanks. You know, by the way, I'm not a big science fiction fan, although recently I wanted to educate myself in science fiction, and so I looked up what are the big classics in science fiction and found to my surprise that I'd read almost all of them, so I guess I know more about it than I thought I did. But science fiction frequently is based on big ideas and doesn't really have very good characters, doesn't really have characters that matter. And that to me is a shame, because I think it's characters. Characters are mainly what I come to stories for, to get an in-depth representation of the human race. And so I love it when a science fiction story also has great characters, but they're very famous stories. I was thinking of Childhood's End, which is a really fascinating piece of science fiction, but the characters are all kind of cutouts and they're not very good. So I'm just saying that science fiction is a realm where that often happens. However, to answer your question, in terms of plotting, I'm a big outliner, and one of the good things about outlining is you can see that your story is too simple. You can see that it needs more depth. You can see that it needs more twists and turns. You can see it on the page before you're deep into it, and putting those things in would mean rewriting 100 pages. When you only, an outline, maybe say it's 10 to 20 pages, a really good long scene-by-scene outline, you can see when something's wrong and just shift it around, more like writing a screenplay, and that really works. As for character, dude, it's about observation. It's about looking at people, learning people, seeing what people are. You don't create characters when you sit down to write. You store characters by observing the world and keeping your eyes open and trying to understand people. And it's one of the reasons that I'm a kind of person who would rather listen to you talk to me than me explain you to yourself. That is one of the reasons as a writer. One of the things about being a novelist and not a journalist primarily is that I just want to get things right. I just want to describe things. Journalists are basically telling, like I said, they have an agenda, but a novelist, a good novelist, is just trying to describe the world as it really is. So look at people without judgment. Don't pass judgment on them. Just look at who they are. Just look at how they act. Look at how they behave, and see if you can translate that onto the page. I mean, that's kind of where you start. That's the writer's art.